What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Red and Gold Standard podcast. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Mike Andrews. Our other co-host, Matt Llewellyn, will be joining us a little later in the show, but no fears, we'll be holding it down until then. If you're tuning in on X, make sure you hit like and repost the stream. If you're tuning in on YouTube, make sure you hit like the video and subscribe to the channels. Both 49ers Hive and Nothing But Niners. Go show some love. We really appreciate it. We got a great show planned for you this evening. Super Bowl's over with. 2024-2025 season from hell is officially in the past. We can move on. It is Combine week. The 49ers have the 11th overall pick in this draft. There are rumors of people being traded for. Maybe a receiver, maybe not the receiver we were thinking. There's a lot going on right now. Coaches leaving. Coach, break it all down tonight before. Actually, no. I was gonna say before I toss it over, make sure you hit like, but I already said that, so I'm a little rusty. Hit like, subscribe. Now that I got that away, Mike, how you doing tonight?
Yeah, man, it feels like it's been a while, so I understand. You know, that last comment that you put up there, I do want to announce really quick. Niner Goat 16 is asking if I'm going to be doing March Madness. For those of you who don't know, because you guys are exclusively subscribed to the 49ers Hive channel, over on the Nothing But Niners channel, March Madness, I start the very last day of February at midnight, so it'll be technically March 1st on the East Coast. I do a midnight series of a live Q&A for only 15 minutes. Okay, you guys get 15 minutes. You can ask me anything you want for every single day of the month. That is my March Madness, and that will be going on again. We have a nice streak going. We are not breaking that streak. March Madness, 15 minutes, any question you want. So you guys make sure you head on over to Nothing But Niners and you guys subscribe so you can ask your questions. It can be football related, personal life, food question, anything that you guys ask. I answer with 100% honesty. A lot of you guys out there like to get me in trouble with my wife in hopes that she's still awake. You guys ask questions, but I answer them all as honest as I can. So I'm looking forward to it. In the meantime, though, Zach, no, I am doing well. We got some good topics to discuss tonight concerning the 49ers, concerning the Combine and things like that, the state of the franchise. So it's going to be a really, really good show, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, man, same. It's been a while. Like I said, the season from hell is finally gone. We can comfortably look forward to this upcoming season with the optimism, hope, excitement like we have always had previously. So with that said, like we said, the NFL Combine is this week. What is something or someone, maybe position, you're keeping a closer eye on than the others, Mike, if there is one?
It's the corners. It's tough for me because I'm a guy that I'd rather go off of what I've seen in college than the combine stuff. But if it's guys that I like coming out of college and they happen to do well in the combine, then I'm like, yeah, I knew it. Like, yeah, like confirm what I thought I saw, right? But I also think that, like the combine is, we've heard from Eric Crocker multiple times about how just his opening stance for the 40 can make a big difference, right? So I try not to take too much stock in things like that. But with that said, you still want to know about how people conduct themselves during the interviews with the teams. You want to know how they do with certain things as far as strength. There are some things other than the 40-yard dash that make a difference. And so hopefully we get to break all of that stuff down. As far as like what groups I'm watching, I am going to be watching the cornerback group very closely. Also, I want to watch quarterbacks, QBs. I know that a lot of people are wondering about, what the 49ers are going to do as far as a backup and all that. Are they going to stick with Mordecai? Are they going to go out and try to get a backup like Joe Flacco? Or, are they going to go out and get some other veteran or whatever? I'm not quite sure, but I do believe that all good teams should continually draft quarterbacks. Not that they're going to be starters, but someone that you can raise in your own system, groom, and when it's time for them to step in, you can use them for a couple of games, and you're not in that big of a funk. So I will be watching quarterbacks and cornerbacks as well. And also, I'll be lying to you guys if I didn't say linebackers. We know that the 49ers need a lot of help at that position, so that's going to be a big one as well.
Yeah, man, I'm excited for this year. I feel like it's been so long since we have had like meaningful presence in the combine, at least for as like the early round picks, right? Obviously, you want to go there and be able to scout the later picks. But by the way, Matt will be here soon. He's driving home still. But the fact that, I don't know, having the 11th pick just like opens up so many more opportunities. Like in my head, I'm like, I feel like I've sold myself on going like 5 different routes, right? It's like, oh, we could totally get like a starting tackle. We could totally get a starting edge. We could get a starting defensive tackle. We can get a starting corner. Fuck, what if we get a receiver? What if we, it's like there are so many different routes we can go. Go ahead, please.
No, well, I was going to say what you're saying is completely justified. We could go all those routes, but the thing is, and this is why it's so hard for me to really get into mock draft season right now. Let me be clear with you guys. I think mock draft is like right now, and I'm not against it. I just think it's for clicks, right? Anyone who's constantly doing mock drafts or posting articles about mock drafts, it's just for engagement because free agency hasn't happened yet, and that happens before the draft. So, if, for example, you just said left tackle, right? Like, or starting tackle. You didn't say left. But if the Niners go out in free agency and they go and sign a big money deal to a tackle or a big money deal to a center, you know that's not where they're going at 11. So all the mock drafts that happen prior to that, they kind of go by the wayside. You got to kind of and that goes not just for the Niners, that goes for every single team. Every team picking before the Niners, if they sign a position of need during free agency, it changes the entire setup of the draft board. And so it's kind of a moot point. It's fun, right? You get here's the fun thing with mock drafts. If you guys are doing it, if you guys are watching them, look at the players that people are mocking to your favorite teams. Do some research on them. Watch the highlights. I'm not going to tell you guys to go out there and watch film, right? I'm not that guy. Like, oh, I'm a film junkie. I watch hours and hours of film on every single prospect. No, don't do that. Go out there. If you see someone that you don't recognize their name that's drafted to your team in a mock draft, go out there and watch some highlights. See what you like about the person. Maybe it will get you excited just in case they happen to land there. But odds are they're not. And so, especially prior to free agency, don't put too many eggs in that basket. You guys are going to be highly disappointed if the Niners go out there and every single mock draft you see, it's wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver, and then we go out and we sign a big name wide receiver in free agency because you know that's not what the draft choice is going to be. So I just want to temper expectations for it.
Which is a very good point. And yeah, pretty much all mock drafts prior to free agency are moot. But we'll see how that plays out. As of right now, you mentioned corner you're watching in the combine. Is that where you would prefer the 49ers go at 11, or is that just something you're keeping an eye on for the draft overall?
So I know that we just recently extended Deommodore Lenoir. I think that he is everyone's CB1, and he can play in the slot. He can play outside on both sides, right? He is our all-around guy in that secondary as far as the cornerback position goes. But I anticipate us losing Mooney Ward to free agency. And so we are going to need someone to step in. And the cornerback position is the fourth, if I'm not mistaken, the fourth highest paid position in the NFL. It's quarterback, it's edge rusher, corner. So maybe they're third. Maybe they're third. And I just don't know if the Niners are going to break the bank for a free agent guy as opposed to drafting someone. So in my book, that's a realistic opportunity for them to go out there and get someone at 11. It's corner. I think that the Niners, we saw what they did last year, right? They invested heavily in the defensive line. They went in and brought a ton of guys in to that position group. Now, did they all work out? Maybe not. But what we ended up not drafting the entire draft for the first time in this team's regime, in this regime's era, we didn't draft a single defensive lineman, right? And that's a first. So it kind of coincides with what we did in free agency. We brought in a ton of free agent defensive linemen, so we didn't draft a single one. And so, I can kind of see them doing that again for the defensive line group. I think that they had some guys on 1-year deal, 2-year deals that they might want to extend or bring back again, and then maybe grab somebody a little bit later. So not at 11, but we'll see how it goes.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, again, we just talked about kind of mock drafts and their meaninglessness, I guess is a word I'm looking for at this point, but I'm seeing corners as Will Johnson being mocked to the 49ers at 11. People are saying Saleh gets his Sauce Gardner here with the 49ers. And I'm seeing a debate, in chat on Twitter, X, about the value of that position and having a top corner, and one could argue 2 top corners if that pick plays out and you now have him paired with Deommodore Lenoir versus having a starting caliber tackle, whether it's offense or defense. And to be honest, I don't really know. I think the 49ers, maybe if all things are leveled, you could make the argument for corner. But the fact that they've neglected the offensive line for so long, I feel like in this specific case, don't complicate it. Don't complicate it. Just take the tackle, the offensive tackle, if he's there, and deal with addressing the secondary with the other 10 picks you got. Like there's plenty of picks there. And thankfully, this is a pretty deep offensive lineman class as well. But I don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited either way. I don't know if you have any thoughts on which position you value more at 11.
I again, without free agency, it's hard to tell, right? There's
going
to be. I tell you what, I can guarantee you, because quarterbacks are going to come off the board, and me personally, I don't think there's a single quarterback that is a top 10 value. That tells me that there's going to be a top 10 value for the 49ers to get. There's going to be an elite player at some position that the 49ers can get, because a couple of quarterbacks are going to come off the board in the top 10 before the Niners pick. So that's going to help us. That's going to make some guys fall our way. Maybe it's a tight end, right? Maybe they go out there and try to get the guy from Penn. Who knows where they go, but it's going to be a lot of fun to watch guys' draft stocks rise from the combine and all that stuff. It is exciting, but I encourage you guys to really, really don't just look at who runs the fastest 40. That's the guy that this team should get. We're not the Raiders. We don't live just off of 40s. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. There were some coaching shakeups as well, which we're getting a little more insight due to Matt Barrows. We'll talk about a little in the future. That one mainly being Brian Greasy, his departure. People were kind of scratching their heads over that. We'll get into that a little more. I think that for the 49ers, I clowned the Eagles last year, right? I took a lot of pleasure in watching their season completely fall apart, just a train crash. After the 49ers whooped the Eagles, I don't even know if I've said this on the show. For the first time in my fandom, I went to Eagles podcasts and watched their podcast. I sought out that entertainment because it was like eating the most precious, filet mignon, Wagyu steak I could ever have. Just because of the way the previous year had ended and all the shit they had talked, right? So the fact that they could go from how bad their season ended in 2024 to beating the back-to-back champions in the Kansas City Chiefs in 2025, that just goes to show how quickly things can change. And look, I'm not saying they were worst to first. They were still a playoff team, right? They still made the playoffs last year. But everybody knew they were tripping ass backwards going into the playoffs and got whooped on Monday night by the Bucs. So I think the 49ers could use that as an example. The foundation is here. They have a quarterback. They at least believe they have a quarterback. I do as well in Brock Purdy. You got a star tight end. You got a star left tackle for however much longer you have them. You got a star pass rusher, star linebacker, star corner. The pieces are there. This should be just a reloading, I guess you could call it, and rejuvenating of the roster with young, price-controlled talent. And the fact that they have 11 picks, I think, this class. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So 11 picks. They got a top 11, the number 11th pick in the draft, and 11 picks. They have so much ammo to actually go out and do that. And we could be sitting here, Mike, in 12 months saying, damn it, they did it. Damn it, they did it. They finally got the offensive line tightened up. They finally got Bosa, another pass rusher to pair with them. They finally, solidified linebacker 2 spot. They have all of the opportunities here to go and do it. And I think that's why I'm so excited to see how they go about it. Rant over.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're absolutely right, man. This is the year that we could get over the hump, right? I think for the last 2 or 3 seasons, it's been let's maintain. Now it's let's build, right? We saw some of the flaws exposed. What happens when Bosa is not in the lineup or playing to his normal level of expectations, right? What happens when Trent goes down? What happens when, McCaffrey isn't in there, right? And we kind of muddled our way through that. Now we have seen the depth, and now we can really, really identify where those big holes are. And not for nothing, what if a linebacker falls to us, right? Like, we don't know how Dre Greenlaw is going to bounce back from another injury. We don't know how Brandon Ayuk is going to bounce back from another injury. They're talking about potentially trading Deebo, or Deebo wants out and all that, right? What if wide receiver is another position that the 49ers have to go after at 11? Right, like, so we had a full season of identifying the flaws and the weaknesses. Now, one thing that I will say that the Eagles did well was not just their personnel, but it was also their coaches. They got new coordinators on both sides of the ball, and Vic Fangio, being the defensive guru that he is, had the perfect game plan for Patrick Mahomes in that game. Right, like, I mean, I watched that Super Bowl, and I didn't realize my level of dislike for the Chiefs until they were getting pummeled and how much I was excited about it, right? It was like, I don't want anybody to win. I don't want anybody to win. I hope this game ends in a tie, and I know it couldn't happen, right? But then as the Chiefs were losing, I was like, yes, yeah, like, get them, right? Like, I didn't realize how much I disliked them. And I think it was less about the personnel and more about the defensive plan. So here we are coming back to it now with a hopefully really good defensive coordinator, hopefully an improved special teams unit. So here we are kind of doing what the Eagles did, going out and identifying the weaknesses at the coordinator positions, strengthening those, and then we'll go ahead and make some adjustments along the way. So we got the hard part out of the way. The scheme now should be locked down. And this year is going to tell us a lot about the scheme. This year is going to tell us a lot about the offense and the defense. Special teams remains to be seen. I don't know what everyone's expectations are for the special teams unit this year. I know that we hope that it's improved, but now we have a bar. We have a bar. The defense has been a big disappointment the last 2 seasons. I think Dre Greenlaw is going to be hard to replace. I would like them to bring him back. I would like for the 49ers to extend Greenlaw. This extra money coming in, I'm sure we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. But this can go a long way, and this could really solidify some positions of need, even some guys that we have on the roster that we thought we might have to lose.
So I agree with what you said, and I want to address 2 comments here. Probably a 2-draft reset by Ian Sharp. I agree with you, Ian, but I actually think it started last year. I mean, if you look at last year's draft class, that was like one of the few, or at least since the beginning, 2017 when Colin Jones got here, that it was like, wow, this was a hit. I mean, you got Green, you got Pooney, you got Garendo, you got Pearsall, who looked to be a stud. Cowing flashed at times. Like even the offensive lineman that didn't stick looked promising. I'm forgetting the kid's name, but he was good out there in preseason. I thought for sure he would get a spot here. Some reason he didn't. I think that 2-year window of a reset began last year. And unfortunately, due to all the other injuries, we didn't get to see most of it. But it's at the same time, it did allow these rookies to get a lot of more playing time than they probably would have if the 49ers were, 13-2, 14-3, like they would have had less opportunities because the games mattered a lot more. Also, we had a super chat from Rodney Williams. $5. Thank you very much, Rodney. If the 49ers lose Greenlaw in free agency, how would you guys feel about the Niners getting Nick Bolton from the Chiefs to play with Warner? This was an interesting question. Thank you, Mike. This was a very interesting question. I actually had it on my list to talk about him as a potential replacement. What are your thoughts? I feel like, well, let me hear your thoughts first, then I'll share mine. I don't want to prejudice the chat.
Look, no. My thoughts are, I would have to go and do more research. But there are some linebackers that are going to be available. I don't know what it's like to try to replace Dre Greenlaw, right? Like, he is an emotional spark plug for this team. I'm not sure that any free agent is going to do it. You guys are going to think I'm crazy when I say this. Maybe you won't. Maybe you guys will agree. I think that Greenlaw's – I think that he's most valuable here. His presence on the sideline – is felt immensely. His leadership on the field, what he does and allows Fred Warner to do can't be compared. I have no idea if Nick Bolton's going to come in and take the spot that Dre Greenlaw does and be as pivotal to this defense as Dre Greenlaw is. We saw those first couple of drives with Greenlaw out there against the Chiefs, right? The Chiefs couldn't do anything. They couldn't move the ball at all. Right. And then he goes down. It's not a coincidence that they started marching up and down the field on the 49ers. Right. So I think that I think Greenlaw coming back would even help the offense, guys. I really, really do. I think Kyle was so hyper focused on what the defense was going to do during the Super Bowl that it kind of got him out of rhythm for play calling in the Super Bowl when we played the Chiefs, and that showed at the end. I think that really, really showed. Where if you have Greenlaw, I don't think there's a chance that they drive down the field 3 times in a row and take that game from us. You know what I'm saying? So not that we would have stopped them from scoring at all, but there's no way they do it 3 times in a row if Greenlaw's out there. I just think that Warner plays more freely and Kyle gets really, really into his bag. And I think that Greenlaw's biggest – I think he's the most valuable here. I'm going to leave it at that.
I agree. While I would be interested in Bolton, I think this is his first opportunity at a contract since like becoming the entrenched starter in Kansas City. My idea would be he's going to be asking for that like big money contract that I don't think the 49ers would be in a position to give him. They already have to extend Purdy. It's going to be a tough, what's the word I'm looking for? Equation to get under the cap moving forward with all of these stars that they have. But he would look, if they could get him on a reasonable deal, I'd be all for it. I just don't think that's going to be his asking price based off of his success in Kansas City, based off of, winning multiple championships, even though you might say, well, no, he did have like a great play versus their Super Bowl 2 years ago, the fumble sack, strip sack for a touchdown. I think he's just too much for the 49ers. But I swear the chat is just like reading my mind. Ace Bruss says, I draft Knight from SC and maybe bring in Sherwood. I've been saying Sherwood for weeks on here. Jamie and Sherwood, he's got the Robert Saleh tie with the Jets, was their leading tackler. I'd be all for that. I think he's a guy that really could help the 49ers. He's a solid tackler, wouldn't have to worry about missed tackles anymore. Also, 805 Blackbeard, throw the bag at Zach Bond. Please no. Nothing against Zach Bond. He could be great, but let's see him do it again first because, we've seen what happens when the 49ers throw a bag at a player after one good year. One great year, it doesn't always turn out well. So I would stay away from that as much as possible. Hargrave, Deebo. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting, man. And it's weird because like, look at you, like against the namesake, right? You guys know I go hard for Mike's. I go hard for people for Jersey. I thought maybe you would have a little bit of like, all right, it's a Zach thing. You're like, yeah, nah, I'm not willing to jump out there yet.
All good.
So, we'll have to see what happens, man.
Yeah. No thanks. All good on that. All right. Let me see what else I had here. Was there anything else regarding the combine that you wanted to discuss?
All right. Let's go ahead and get this out the way. I saw someone say it earlier in there. Kyle Shanahan is getting some hate for not being present at the combine, and again, this is being driven by I believe it's Grant Cohn is the one that's asking all the head coaches, "Hey, why are you here?" Like type of thing, right? And I haven't seen any of the interviews, but I've seen X talking about it, and the truth of the matter is, I think the Niners have learned to rely on their scouts, right? I don't need Kyle Shanahan's input. Give us the positions that you think we need to address and let us, the research and development department, take care of that, right? Like, that's what their jobs are. Kyle, that's not your job. Kyle doesn't need to be there. If you have a staff that you trust, let the staff work. They don't need you looking over their shoulder, right? If I'm in my office, I don't know how your office is set up or anything like that, but I have an office at my job and I have a 3-monitor system and I am multitasking all day long. When the only person that I report to comes into my office, it's not that I get flustered, but now my attention from my 3 monitors is cut in half immediately, and half of my attention has to go to whatever he is saying to me at that time, and it takes precedent over everything else that I was working on. It causes it impedes on my workflow. And so I'm not saying that these scouts are all of a sudden going to be like, all right, well, fine, whatever Kyle says goes. But we all know that Kyle has the control here. Kyle has autonomy in the 49ers locker room. And if he says he wants a specific player, he's going to get that specific player regardless of what the scouts think, right? I think part of the maturation process for Kyle Shanahan is trusting in the staff that you've built, and trusting in the scouts, and trusting in the position coaches and all that stuff. Let them have their input on those guys, because those are going to be the people that are charged with finding, developing, and producing at those positions. Kyle can sit here and say, "I want Joe Woods. Give me Joe. I mean, Joe Williams." Or what was the running back's name? Isn't that
Joe Williams. Yeah. Joe Williams.
Give me Joe Williams. Give me Joe. And then he does absolutely nothing for the 49ers. I want Dante Pettis, right? Give me Dante Pettis. I love the way he runs routes. Oh, well, he's a really good return guy too, Kyle. No. I want him as a wide receiver. And then we get absolutely nothing for it, right? Like, hey, Kyle, like, just let us know what positions you want. We'll do the research, and we want you to trust us. So I personally applaud Kyle Shanahan for not being there, man. Let these guys go out there and do their damn jobs. We don't need Kyle to be, micromanaging all these positions. So I don't fault him for it at all, not one iota.
I think this is also a bit more of a story than it probably would have been, because it was previously reported that he was going to be at the combine, and everyone was like, "Oh, Kyle's locked in because they got it, the 11th pick. Maybe there's pressure coming from the Yorks." I don't know where that story came from, but then very quickly it was like, "Oh, actually, no, he's not going to be at the combine." And then everyone's like, "Well, why not? Does this mean he's not as locked in as we were just saying?" It's like it kind of started the thought process of going the other way when they were just saying all these things for like a week or so before the story was corrected. So I don't know. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think it's a bit of a non-story, but it's keeping with tradition. Like we've said, like I don't think he's gone to the combine maybe since the first year he was here. So I don't think it's that big of a deal that people wanted to make. But what I don't want to get too far off topic, but free agency, I guess, combine rookies, what do you envision happening with the running backs, Mike? We got Jordan Mason, restricted free agent. How do you envision that playing out? Do you think they let him walk? Do they tender? Do they draft his replacement, undrafted free agent?
It's
too early to tell.
That's a tough question. Yeah, no, it's not that it's too early. It's a tough question because we are emotionally invested in Jordan Mason. I think all of us for years have been saying, give him more carries, right? He got more carries. He didn't disappoint. So naturally, we want to bring him back, right? So that makes sense, right? Face value, it all adds up. We all thought 1 + 1 was 2. When he got in there, the equation was absolutely correct, right? But we also saw success with pretty much every other running back they put in there. Isaac Guerendo as well. And Isaac Guerendo was the one running back that everyone had the most concerns with. Like, oh, just because he ran a nice 40 time and all that stuff, like he wasn't even the best guy at his own, right? And then he came in, and when healthy, he filled in admirably. He did just fine for the 49ers, right? So now I'm back into the box of running backs. Like, we're going to get production from that position. Maybe if we let Mason go, it's not the end of the world. If keeping Mason means that we have to let go of someone else, which I don't think a running back is going to do, but if that was the equation, is it worth it? And I think the Niners would say no. I think the Niners' perspective is we can get production from another running back, plus Christian McCaffrey should be, knock on wood, should be healthy going into this season. And so with that being the case here, we know that once Christian McCaffrey is back and he's healthy, he's taking 80% of the running back snaps. So, I mean, the backups really kind of become irrelevant. You can trust and go forward with Isaac Guerendo if you want to, and you can actually let go of Mason. It really depends on the health of what, CMC is going forward. I'm not, if we let go of Mason, am I going to be upset about it? No, I'm not going to be upset, but it would have been nice to see him come back and be that guy here. But I mean, it's not the end of the world if he's not.
Yeah. I think they probably let him walk. Maybe they tender him, try and get something in return if another team matches it. But I don't think, is Mitchell even under contract still? I feel like he's a free agent, isn't he?
I think he's a free agent. I can pull it up, but I'm not 100% sure.
Pretty sure he got drafted in 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. I think he's a free agent.
The 49ers 2025 free agents are, let me see if I can find the running backs. Patrick Taylor, Elijah Mitchell. So you're correct, and Jordan Mason. Those three guys are free agents now. Unrestricted free agent for Patrick Taylor. Elijah Mitchell's an unrestricted free agent, and Jordan Mason is a restricted free agent. So, yeah.
I think it would be worth tendering Mason, just in case you might be able to get something out of it. But I honestly think they all go.
Would you feel, if you had to choose between Mason and Mitchell, which one would you go with?
Come on. Mason, without a doubt. I love Elijah Mitchell. I love Elijah Mitchell, but the dude can't stay on the field. He cannot stay on the field. He hasn't had a single season that he played all the games. It was tough, especially once those injuries started. It was like they compounded, and they were just more and more and more. So it's unfortunate, but I think that he's more of a risk. I think Mason, is more of a sure thing. I mean, the dude finished the season with 5.2 yards per carry. I mean, he was leading the NFL in rushing, and then Kyle just decided, I don't want to play with you anymore, and tossed him to the side. He eventually ended up getting hurt, but it's like, he very easily could have had like 1,500 yards rushing this season. If he started all 17 games,
right,
he was on pace. Yeah. So it was really, like you said, Mike, it was a joy for us to watch, like somebody that we rooted for this whole time. It's like, it's going to sound like weird, but it's like somebody you follow on social media that like makes it big. Like you caught on early and they're like, oh shit, this dude's on SNL now. Like that's how I felt with Jordan Mason. It's like I watched my TikTok comedian that had 1,000 followers when I found him is now on SNL. It's like we were rooting for this dude since he was an unrestricted, undrafted free agent. The 49ers brought in, worked his way up the depth chart, only got a shot because of injury, and then took it and ran with it and was like one of the best backs in the league while he was starting. So it really was impressive to see. And I think on a better question, Mike, why would you want to come back if you're Jordan Mason? I wouldn't. I say, thanks for everything. Maybe no bad blood, maybe some, but I appreciate I'm out.
Well, so because of how the running back position has been devalued the last 7-8 seasons, like, I mean, you either special Saquon, CMC, Derrick Henry, or you're just a rotational guy, right? There's probably 5 like starters in the NFL, and everyone else is just a part of a system. And so if Mason doesn't feel like he's going to go somewhere and be the guy, I don't know if he would mind coming back to the 49ers to be a guy.
But that's the thing.
I don't know.
I think he will go somewhere to be the guy. I think somewhere like Dallas, somewhere Seattle, somewhere
Oakland. No, Oakland drafted
Vegas.
a guy. They draft. Oh, I'm sorry. I meant Vegas. Sorry. Good job.
Did they?
Good catch there. They drafted a guy last year. Yeah. I think
the Giants. The Giants. Like, is he throwing a lot of money at Jordan Mason? I think there's 4 or 5 bad teams. Hey, maybe even the Commanders. I don't think the Commanders are going to stick with Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson. Pittsburgh's got Najee Harris as a free agent. I could definitely. He's got that round and pound type play that fits the Steelers.
Oakland drafted a guy in the 6th round last year, so that wasn't it. Maybe it was 2023. Maybe I thought the Raiders had one of their like top guys.
Colts.
Let me see here. Hold on.
They got Jonathan Taylor though. I don't know if they would give money for Mason.
You're right. Yeah. So maybe he would still go to the Raiders. I mean, but these are teams that are looking to replace some guys that they lost. Thought maybe, we're fine without them, and it was like, oh, never mind. We really needed those guys to stay here. So, yeah, you named a couple of good teams, and if he gets that kind of call, if I'm him, I want to test free agency.
Same.
I will keep communications open with the 49ers, but if I'm not going to go somewhere and be the guy, and I have to be a guy, you probably want to be a guy with the 49ers. The Niners have they're a top 5 pick for the Super Bowl next year and out of this conference, so you definitely want them coming. They're probably top 3 if I'm being honest with you guys, and that's not 49ers bias, right? I understand that what the Eagles did, but we all know that we were just injured this year. Like, we just had too many injuries. If we're healthy and we're out there and we're firing on all cylinders, the Niners have to be one of the favorites to make it to the NFC Championship coming out of this conference. So if I'm Mason, I'm probably going to keep that in the back pocket. I don't think anyone expects the Colts to make a Super Bowl push. I don't think anyone expects the Giants to make a Super Bowl push. While you can go and get a couple more dollars there as a starter, that might be best for you and your family. But if you're not going to be a starter for one of those teams, then, come on back.
Mark Espinoza, New England. I could definitely see New England trying to build a young, talented core around Drake May. I could see it. So I see we have someone in waiting. Are y'all good to join?
Thumbs up. He's ready.
Hey.
What's up, guys? How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Let's go, man.
In there. It's a long drive home. So, my camera froze, but that's all right. Long drive home. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But good to be here with you guys. I don't want to tread on old territory. So definitely just keep going with what you've been doing.
For sure.
Let me ask you this question, Matt.
Okay.
If you had to choose between one guy or the other, Mason or Mitchell, running back, which one, if you could keep only one, which one would you keep?
Mason.
Okay, so everyone's okay.
Mitchell ain't even played in like 3 years.
3 years.
In the last 3 years,
in Mitchell, and dumps it
listen. In the last 3 years, Mitchell has more IR stints than he has games played. So, I ain't even trying to. Yeah, he can get out of here.
Okay. Yeah,
not his fault. Not his fault, but that's just the way that it goes. So,
again, we have to really focus on reinvigorating this roster with young, cheap talent, and I don't think that way is by signing older. But I shouldn't say older, but not rookies. You're not 23, 24 coming into the NFL. These guys have already had 3 to 4 years of NFL experience. Let's get some fresh legs in here under a rookie contract.
I think Mason's market will be depressed because it's a deep running back class. But, if you're the 49ers, just tender him at a spot that you feel comfortable losing him at and see if anybody bites. Because he's a restricted free agent. So if they tender him at a third round level and somebody takes him, all right, there you go. You get compensated for that. So definitely worth a shot. But at the end of the day, where does Mason fit? If you believe in Isaac Guerendo, then Guerendo would be your number 2, CMC would be your number 1, and then you're looking for a third running back anyway. And at that point, who really cares? How much money are you going to commit to that?
I think if Mason stays, he's 2. I think he gets the number 2 spot over Guerendo. I really do. Now, that's for this coming season. I think Guerendo offers more as a pass catcher, but I don't know if Kyle trusts him enough to do that. That's me with my scout eyes, right? But I think that if all 3 of them are on the roster day one, it's CMC, Mason, and then Guerendo.
Not to mention his ability as a pass blocker. We've seen Guerendo kind of mess that up a couple of times and almost get Purdy killed, or did get Purdy killed. So definitely something to keep an eye on. Matt, now you're here. Do you guys want to talk about the new salary cap? Because that went up. That skyrocketed, I think, a little more than people were expecting. It's going to fall somewhere between 277.5 and 281.5 million, which is a $22.1 million jump from last year's cap. And like I said, a bigger jump than most teams were anticipating. How does this affect the 49ers' ability to extend Purdy, possibly bring back Greenlaw if they want to, if they get into a bidding war? How big of a jump is this for you guys? Were you expecting this big of a jump? And I don't even know what goes into it. I know it's like the TV deals. I don't know if you guys have any insight on what determines. Matt, I see you nodding over there.
It is related to the TV deals, but I couldn't give you the exact number on that. But I think it does give the 49ers much. It allows them to move off of people that need to go and allows them to maybe eat some dead cap if they need to do so, and still maybe retain 1 or 2 of their key free agents coming up. In my mind, Dre Greenlaw, somebody like that.
Dead cap, like say a Deebo Samuel, maybe.
100%. I didn't want to keep saying his name, man. I feel bad.
Right. Mike, do you have any thoughts on the salary cap?
No, I mean it's good though, right? The positive is, boom, here's another $20 million minimum. Whether it's 22, whether it's 20, if it comes in at 19.78, who cares, right? Here's another $20 million, and the Niners are already in decent cap space prior to restructures that are being anticipated. Maybe the restructures aren't necessary now. You don't have to add on more dead cap for some of these older vets and things like that, right? So this $20 million gives the Niners a lot of flexibility. Now, maybe they were already anticipating that, but we also know that when the Niners issue new deals, they're not cap heavy the first season or two. And so this gives them some rollover. This gives us the option to maintain the status quo while signing and extending the important pieces for them. It's nothing but positive. And as far as where the money comes from, my thing is this: who cares? The league said it's here. I don't care if it came from mining gold or Bitcoin, right? Like, who cares where it came from? The league did something right where every team is getting a bump now. Let's take advantage of it. Let's not say that we can't afford Dre Greenlaw anymore. Let's not say that we may have to restructure Fred Warner and George Kittle if it's going to mean that they're unhappy with how the contracts are, right? Let's not have to go out there and ask anyone to take a cut. While we sit here and say, I'll go out, I'll say it now, right? A lot of people feel that we should be asking Kyle Juszczyk to take a pay cut, right? Maybe we don't have to. Let him finish out his deal, right? Maybe we don't have to. Has he been highly paid as a fullback? Absolutely. Has he been the highest paid fullback for the last 7 seasons? 1,000%, right? But to pretend that he doesn't have a purpose here, and I will say that he's, in my opinion, for the last 2 seasons, been largely misused. I think that we could have gotten a lot more out of Kyle Juszczyk as far as his ability and what he brings as a pass catcher, a route runner.
Yes.
Hell, like put him as another tight end or whatever. Like, I don't think that the Niners have been using Kyle Juszczyk the right way. I say bring him back, let him keep his money, keep him happy, and all of a sudden unleash this freaking offense, man. Like, we've been holding back and we've been walking this thing, like slow walking this offense here for whatever the reason is. There's no need to do it now when you get an influx or an extra $20 million to play with. Like, let's let's go all in. We sat around, I'm saying we as Niner fans and as we as Niner content creators, we mocked the Rams for going all in a couple seasons ago. But what did that all in warrant them? They got the Super Bowl in their house. Why can't that be this year for the 49ers? Why can't we go all in, keep all of our star guys, extend those guys that we want here, and then win the big one in our house? Because the Super Bowl is going to be here in 2026, technically, right? But it's going to be here this season. It's going to be in Santa Clara. Let's win it on our own turf, right? It's happened twice. Let's do it again. Let's make it the 3rd time that it happens. Come on now.
A team had never won it in their own house. Then the Rams, Bucks, I don't remember which order. Tampa did it first, and the Rams did it the very next year, I'm pretty sure. And it reminded me of that meme, like, Lord, I've seen what you've done for others. Please, if you could just do it for me, please. Which, by the way, the salary cap jumping up, I think really drives home the point that you need to extend Brock Purdy like yesterday. Because if the salary cap jumps up another $20 million next year, we're talking about a $40 million jump within 2 years. Suddenly that giant cap hit that he may have, 50-something million, doesn't really look as big because time has gone by and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And now they're talking about like Netflix getting a bit more games. I can only imagine those streaming deals and the way they count streams is just going to allow the salary cap to continue rising. Seems like exponentially at this rate, but really, who knows? But it's exciting. And it allows the Niners to do something good.
No, and the best part about what you're saying is, like, you can give Brock Purdy this money and not second guess it, right? Like, I love what you're saying, right? We haven't got to that part of the show yet where we're talking about the new coaches and those that are missing from the list, right? But I think the Niners are confident in Brock Purdy being the guy. Not a guy, but the guy. And that says something. That speaks volumes, right? Go ahead and just pay him then. If that's what the case is going to be, you go ahead and you pay him. You hope that the salary cap continues to jump. What I will say is this: the highest paid quarterbacks always make a very specific percentage of what the cap space is. So if it jumps another 20 million, that's 40 million, like Zach said, in 2 years. Imagine what that number is going to look like if you wait, or if you drag ass, or if you tag him, as opposed to what. Like, let's not do that. Let's go ahead and get it out the way right now. The Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes on a steal, on a bargain. And when that deal happened, we were like, what, $500 million? Are you guys kidding me? I can't believe the quarterback got this kind of money. And now we're sitting there looking at it like, look at what he's getting versus what Dak Prescott is getting. What has he done? And what has Dak Prescott done?
Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor, like, exactly, right? It's like all of a sudden, it's like, what the hell are we talking about, right? But in 3 years, right? In 3 years from Trevor Lawrence getting his deal, he's making nothing but what the increments were from the cap going up. So now all of a sudden it's free money, right? Like, go ahead and give it to him now. Let's not drag ass. Let's not make this more painful than what it needs to be. Let's go ahead and get it taken care of.
Yeah, that's a tale as old as time, though, isn't it? Like, everybody worried about, Brock Purdy, he shouldn't get top QB dollar. It's going to be top QB dollar for like 3 seconds. You know, I mean, look at, who was even, I don't know, like, what were the salaries back in the day? We went from like, I don't know, 1.2 million or something like that was this huge thing. I remember Sam Bradford out of college signed like an 8-year, $50 million deal or something like that. You like 8 million or 8 years, 50 million on a quarterback nowadays. It's like, it's like a USFL guy. Right? Like, you're just paying him to be your backup forever. So it's all, Purdy could be legitimately paid the number, top 5, let's just say top 5 QB money. In 2 years, he's going to be like 15th or 16th in the league in terms of total salary, And so it all fluctuates, because let's be honest, guys, like, these first couple of years of Purdy, he's been dirt cheap. I mean, dirt cheap. Under $1 million a season.
Yep.
Exactly. And to your point, Matt, Steve Young's largest cash payment in a year was $9.5 million. His career, he only earned $49 million. His career. I mean, there are guys making that a year right now that have not sniffed the success that Steve Young is. It's like, the cap is just something to be manipulated. I mean, I'm sorry, but it's increasing with the times. I mean, the NFL salary cap and eggs are in lockstep with each other. The more eggs cost, the more the salary cap goes up. Just pay the guys what the carton of eggs costs and keep it moving, man. That's it.
Listen, it could be worse, right? Like, because at the end of the day, even if they do pay Brock Purdy and it doesn't work out, at least it's not all guaranteed money. It's not like we're the New York Mets out here spending $765 million fully guaranteed dollars on a guy who projects as a future DH. A little baseball talks and spring trainings here, but yeah,
there's guaranteed contracts at that position in the NFL that people are like, yeah, at least we're not doing that. I don't even know what team Deshaun Watson's on right now, but what team is he on?
Cleveland Browns. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, and talk
that
about
was a one of a kind deal, though. And everybody is still pissed off that the Browns did that. And I mean, cosmic karma being what it is, I think the Browns are paying the price for that. So we'll see this next dumb move if they continue to hold to their laurels and say they're not going to trade Myles Garrett, which they absolutely should before the draft, because they're not going to do anything.
For the people clutching their pearls over extending Brock Purdy, talking about 50 million, we are like, grab your calendar that's on your wall right now. Within that same calendar, we're probably that close to like quarterbacks getting close to 70 million a year. Like, we're not that far out from that. Like you said, Mike, it goes up percentage wise is what these top quarterbacks get of the entire salary cap. So do it now. Do it now while that chunk isn't going to continue growing. I would argue, if you're sure it's the guy, which I think all of us are, you extend him as soon as you can, because that number is just going to grow unless he has a shit season, which I think this season was as shit of a season we'll see from him, and that was about as bad of a season the way it could go. We got a super chat here from our guy Sean. Thank you very much, Sean. Sean, $10. You think we'll drop our pants, BA, or pull them up? Expensive things. Is it wise for Dre, since we need at least 2 to back him up, since he can't last a season? Why is Greasy gone? Trent Williams gone? Kyle losing power? I think TW's right. Trent.
Yeah, I think what Sean is doing here is getting them all done and out the way at one time here. He's getting all of his questions in here. So thank you, Sean, for the super chat. We sincerely appreciate it. I, I I don't think Brandon Ayuk is going anywhere. I don't know if you want to transition into this topic right now, guys,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
we might as well do it.
You're like our Sean translator.
Yeah, no, I got you guys. He's been bringing the heat my way for a long time. Sean is a long time supporter, so I think I can kind of read through the tea leaves and what he's doing here. Listen, Brandon Ayuk isn't going anywhere, guys. I understand what the reports were that came out today. There are teams poking around Brandon Ayuk. I don't know what poking around means, but I can guarantee you this: if we didn't have any trade partners for him when he was healthy, and you could have given him whatever contract you wanted to give him, there's no way we have trade partners now that he's injured and the contract is locked in. With the Niners having almost $40 million in dead cap if we were to move on. He's not going anywhere. He is going to be a 49er for the next 3 seasons. Like it or hate it, he's not going anywhere. Before I get to the rest of the questions in here, what are your guys' thoughts on the poking around of Brandon Ayuk? What kind of stock do you guys take into it? Do you think it was even a real thing, or was that just something put out there for engagement from the 49er fan base? Because let's be honest, we are a loud, proud bunch.
Well, let me read the quote that is actually here from Brucini, because I couldn't find anything. I guess she said it on like a podcast or something.
Yeah, she had a video that went out.
So this is what I found. Brandon Ayuk is a player a lot of teams had interest in before he signed that deal last year. She said, Diana Rossini, that is, on the Scoop City podcast. Remember, he signed 4-year, $120 million deal. There are some teams poking around now to see if the 49ers would be willing to deal Brandon Ayuk. With Samuel's with Samuel's uncertain future, Chase Daniel questioned why the 49ers would consider moving Ayuk. Why would you pay Brock Purdy if Brock Purdy doesn't have a number 1 receiver? Daniel asked. Because Brock Purdy's not going to be the same without Brandon Ayuk. Please don't do it. Let's see. Look, I'm not going to say they're going to. This is just the time of the year where these conversations start, Rossini added, where agents and teams are starting to meet. Teams are meeting with each other going, hey, what would this look like? Would you be interested? And I'm interested in how San Francisco is going to figure out this roster, knowing that they've got to pay so much money to Purdy and other veteran playmakers. This, to me, sounds like Diana was sitting there and pulled this right out of her ass, because this is a whole bunch of nothing. This is a whole bunch of absolutely nothing. If teams are poking around, tell them not to poke around in his open wounds in his knee. Avoid the ground beef that is his kneecap. Like, what are we doing here, people? Dude can't pass a physical. He's still probably got open stitches, like raw stitches. And it's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Come on. Like, let's be honest here. He's not fully healthy. He had his knee completely fucked. I mean, so he took a train to the knee less than 5 months ago, and we're supposed to act like teams are like, hey, we're still willing to send you like a 2 and a 4th in the future. It's like, come on. No. I don't know. I have no idea what the intention is or what the motivation. Maybe she's wanting to throw that in there to pure sourced. I made the joke. Maybe she was seeing a text from a year ago that she just saw now, because who is poking around for an injured Brandon Ayuk? Who's poking around for an injured any player with an injury as serious as he had?
Listen, the only person that's been poking around Brandon Ayuk was his knee surgeon. Okay. This is completely just bogus. 100% bogus. First of all, he has a huge dead cap hit, if they even did anything. And second of all, I mean, let's hold on. Let me back up. Maybe it's not completely bogus. I mean, somebody could have asked, like, hey, what's up with Brandon Ayuk? Like, you guys trying to get rid of him? It could have been something as casual as that, which happens all the time. All the time. But that doesn't mean that it's, any serious conversation, right? Like, I'm sure people call, Kansas City, like, hey, what's it going to take to get Patrick Mahomes out of there? You know what I'm saying? It happens. Anybody that's like, even how many people have probably sniffed around Max Crosby, right? Or Myles Garrett or whatever. And the team doesn't have to take the calls, but
Matt,
it doesn't mean that like it's actually a serious thing.
No one, I repeat, no one asked the 49ers if they are trying to get rid of Brandon Ayuk. I guarantee you that.
No. What I'm saying is, could somebody have been like, hey, what's up with Brandon Ayuk? Like,
that part,
just like the most casual
Yes.
passing, and then she took it as like, oh, they must be asking if he's available.
They were like, we were
know,
just
it
asking
could've
about
been
his
something
recovery.
like how's he
Yeah.
doing?
Or, dude, I just saw this video with Brandon Ayuk getting pulled over by the cops. Is everything okay with Brandon Ayuk? Like, that's different. That is so different than, is he available? Or are you guys trying to move him? Or what's it going to take to get? No one's asking about the moving of Brandon Ayuk right now. I can guarantee you guys, no one. Because here's the thing. Anyone asking if he is going to be moved would only be a GM. And every GM knows the first year after a deal, that guy's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. Can you guys name anyone who signed a deal and the following year was traded? Even if you wait, now watch this.
Head.
Even if you could name someone, now tell me they finished that season on season-ending IR, because they didn't. They did not. Even if you could come up with someone who signed a big deal and then was traded the following year, I guarantee you they didn't finish that year on season-ending IR. No one, absolutely no one.
Buckner was.
I'm gonna take a shot in the dark, and I might be close. It might not have been the first year of the deal, but he definitely has ended season-ending IR a couple times. 3 words for you: Odell Beckham Jr. That's the only one I can think of.
All right, so he was traded. All right, so now I'm going to look up Odell Beckham Jr. trades, and let's see, because this is a good one. Now, this was also on March 19th. The Giants traded him to the Cleveland Browns. Let's see what his
Did he sign a deal
was. That's what that now. So now we have a date, March 2019. So let's look up his contract in 2018, and that says. Odell Beckham Jr. signed a 5-year, $95 million contract extension for the New York Giants that made him the highest-paid wide receiver
in 2018.
In 2018,
so he got traded in 2019, which is the year after he signed the extension.
So did he?
But I don't know if he
on
finished
IR?
that season in IR, or if he
right.
tried to force his way out of Cleveland again.
So here we go.
Rams, or I don't know.
I have his 2018 season pulled up here, and he played in 12 games that year. Let's see what 12 games he played in. Where is that at? How do I find that? I have to go to season, right, to see what games he did?
No, well, to be fair, he signed his deal in 2018 and was traded in 2019. He played 16 games for the Browns, and then in 2020 he only played 7 games. So it was 2 years after that he finished essentially on IR.
So it's not even worth looking into. It doesn't happen,
it's
guys.
fine.
It doesn't. And he never had a catastrophic injury like what there are people that are saying, I don't know if Brandon Ayuk is going to play again in the NFL. There are people with those kind of concerns. Now, I think he's going to be back.
Well,
I think
that's
with the way
overblown. They call it the unhappy triad because he tore his ACL, his MCL, and his meniscus. It is a hard. I'm not trying to undersell it. It's a hard injury. And will he be 100% of Brandon Ayuk pre-injury? Probably not. But if you can get him 90%, that's probably pretty good.
Right. But I mean,
then again, you get super freaks like Adrian Peterson who just come back like 6 months later and then rush for 2,000 yards. So you never know.
So in 2018, Beckham sustained a quadricep bruise against the Eagles in Week 12 of the 2018 season. He played despite the injury in Week 13, but was sidelined for the season's last 4 games. So it looks like he was traded after that. But
technically, I'm correct. He signed his deal, and then that season ended on IR.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a catastrophic injury.
And that's my point. Not only wasn't
I just want to pat myself on the back for that poll.
No. So that was very good. No, pat yourself on the back. Here's a round of applause, baby. Like, let's go. Right? Like, that's good. That's good shit right there. But my point is, he could still run routes. He can still catch the ball, right? Like, we don't know if Brandon Ayuk can run yet. There's a reason he's trying to buy fast cars, because he can't get anywhere else in any time, in a decent time, without a car being involved. So, I mean, it's not the same, guys. Even that, and Matt did a really good job finding not only a trade that happened, but a wide receiver trade that happened and ended on IR after signing a deal. All of that was great.
And
But
recent.
and recent, right? All of that was phenomenal. Very good, Matt. But this guy could run routes still. And
Well, until his
Ayuk,
next knee injury, and he can't anymore. But
right. But
yeah.
Ayuk can't do that now, so I don't want to hear it. Ayuk was struggling to get separation after a fucking holdout. We're not even talking about the injury. We're talking about a holdout. He was struggling to get separation. So now you want to tell me that you couldn't get separation before the injury, and now you're adding the injury onto that? You're just doing this as a wide receiver. Your stock, I mean, I don't know if you guys have any investments right now, but everybody, the market is down, down, down. Ayuk's market is even worse. No one is calling asking about what his value is in the trade market right now. Absolutely no one. And the Niners are entertaining it because they don't want to give up $40 million for a guy that's not on the roster. It's not going to happen. This is exactly what Zach said. He leaned over, he pulled the Cottonelle or the Charmin out of his ass. No, I'm saying what you did when you did the Yeah. She pulled that straight out of her ass, guys. No one is calling about trading for this guy right now. Absolutely no one. There were two other questions that I believe he had in there. He said, is it wise for Dre, since we need at least 2 to back him up since he can't finish the season? That was the other question from Sean. He's asking whether or not should we be bringing Dre Greenlaw back knowing that he can't finish the season? Sean, I will venture to say that these injuries to Dre Greenlaw were freak injuries. I don't think that these are normal injuries. And I think when the Niners put him on IR at the end, it wasn't because the injury was that serious. It was that they knew we aren't going anywhere this season.
Yep.
I think that if the Niners were making a playoff push, Dre Greenlaw would have been active. He would have played in those games. I didn't see anything catastrophic enough where they were like, oh, man, we got to sit you down for the rest of the season. They just knew the season was a wash, and there was no point in keeping him up and active. So that's my opinion. Matt and Zach, I would love to hear from you guys on what you think about the Dre Greenlaw injury. Do we have to worry about whether or not he can play for the full duration of a season?
I'll go real quick. I'd say not necessarily worry about him playing a full season, but his playing style doesn't necessarily equate with 17 games every year. On top of that, he's getting older. On top of that, Fred Warner, as great as he is also getting older. I think regardless of who you bring in at linebacker, you still have to draft at least one middle linebacker with your first half of your picks, because you need to be able to have that younger guy to bring along. It's definitely not, Flanagan Fowles, who I think they just released. I love Curtis Robinson. Unfortunately, I don't think he's going to be more than a special teamer, third, fourth linebacker for this team. So yes, but it's not the end all be all. That's my take, Matt.
I don't know, man. Listen, the injury was the injury, and you got to understand that coming back from the Achilles tear, how long had he actually been full on running? How much of it was he's out of balance biomechanically, muscle wise, because he's favoring one side or another for months? I think that he can stay healthy. He's had 2 seasons where he's missed like a lot of games. Now, his play style is going to be physical, but you would think that it's more impact physical than it is, soft tissue things. I think the other season that he missed most of was when he didn't he break his forearm in one of the seasons? Mm-hmm. I think he broke his forearm. So, and then you have the Achilles tear that happened in the Super Bowl, which was kind of a freak injury. You always worry about some form of injury when you're playing such a physical position, but again, I know Zach said that he's getting older, but 27 is still, there still should be tread on the tires at that point. I think that if you're re-signing him, you're re-signing him to like a 2 or 3 year deal. So you can get out by age 30. And again, there was a different energy to the team in the half that he played. Like there just simply was. And I think that, there are certain guys in the locker room whose value goes beyond what's on the field or what's on the field in terms of production. And I think that Dre Greenlaw is one of those guys that pumps everybody up. So while he may not be getting this tackle or that tackle or whatever, I do think that he is an important player for the culture. So I would like to see them bring him back, and I'm not overly worried that he's just, not going to be able to make it. But in case that he wants too much money, at the very least, I mean, this season is actually pretty decent in terms of free agent linebackers that the 49ers could potentially go after. So, you hope that he just resigns and you can get it done, and with a bigger cap that could be more likely, but you never know. I don't know what that weird report about was, though, that he wants to be like the leader. I'm like, or he wants what he wants to be like top dog, or he wants a chance to be like the lead dog or whatever in a defense. And I'm like, your position is your position. You're the lead dog if you're starting, right? Like if you're the middle linebacker of a team and you're starting, you're the lead dog as a middle linebacker. The only thing that I can think of is that what he wants the headset. Like, I guess if that's enough to make you leave somewhere, I don't know what your what your thing is. I don't know.
What I still think back to right before the season ended, or right when the season did end, they threw that going away party for him, like Fred Warner's wife and all those teams. And I was trying to go back on their social media to see if that is a thing that they do for every unrestricted free agent, at the end of every year, but I couldn't see anything. So that leads me to believe perhaps the 49ers and Dre Greenlaw were under the belief that they wouldn't be able to come to an agreement moving forward. I don't know how much of a contract is handled during the regular season. Probably not much, but it seemed to me like they were under the belief that this is it. And unless something changes, the paths that we're on are separate paths. We talked about Nick Bolton earlier. I think he's going to be too expensive for the 49ers. There are rumors the Giants could cut Bobby Okereke. That's a great option. I really like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah before he had that really bad neck injury. I don't know if he's still the same type of player. That's a very serious injury. But yeah, it's going to be tough. All right. Let's get into this coaching changes real quick. And then I think we might have to wrap up a little sooner, but let's do this real quick. I just had the tweet up. Where did it go? Mike, you sent it. Here we go. Coaching changes. The 49ers announced this today. These are the staff changes. So if they have an asterisk, they were on the team previously, but in a different role. So the new coaches, Cole Anderson, assistant special teams coach, Ronald Blair, formerly of Ronald Blair, the 49ers playing, special teams quality control, Gus Bradley, formerly of Seattle, Jacksonville, Atlanta. I think he was in Indianapolis, assistant head coach of the defense, Ray Brown, defensive backs, cornerbacks, Chris Forster. He's now an assistant head coach / offensive line, Joe Graves, now an offensive assistant / quarterbacks coach, Patrick Hagedorn, chief of staff football, Leonard Hankerson, wide receivers passing game specialist, Andrew Hayes Stoker, offensive assistant / wide receivers coach. Clay Kubiak is officially the offensive coordinator for the 49ers. Congratulations. Mick Lombardi replaces Brian Greasy as quarterbacks coach. This caused quite the stir today on social media. Jake Lynch, which, yes, is John Lynch's son, defensive quality control. Greg Scruggs, assistant defensive line, and Jacob Webster, offensive quality control. Also, just to add real quick, Brian Greasy was not poached by another team. I know he had turned down a request for the Jets earlier this offseason. He's not going to college. Reports were from Matt Barrows. He just didn't want to coach anymore. He was done with coaching. So, and people, I saw the chat ask about KJ Wright earlier. He is still on the staff. This was just the new coaches and coaches with the 49ers that have a new position. Matt, any of these stand out to you? Do you have any thoughts on these?
I mean, obviously it'll be interesting to see how Mick Lombardi does taking over for Brian Greasy, who is generally pretty well regarded. So I do think that it's a good thing that they, moved on or whatever. It seems like, I mean, if you don't want to be a coach, then that's fine by all means, but then they got to get somebody who does. So you don't want somebody who's half in, half out. Nobody else. I mean, I don't know, giving Chris Forster the assistant head coach title to add it on there is interesting. But yeah, like, I don't know, man. I guess, what am I looking for here? Is this, okay, these are staff changes. So like Yeah, I mean, you still have Kasarik on the defensive line.
Correct.
Clay Kubiak has been there. It's just like a promotion to most likely keep him from getting poached by other teams.
Yep.
I don't know, man. It does seem like they're kind of just making shit up as they go along. Assistant head coach of defense for Gus Bradley. It's just like a weird thing.
It's like advisor to the president.
It just makes me feel like they expect Robert Saleh to be gone, and it's like, all right, let's get Gus Bradley in here and teach him how we want to do things and make it a smooth transition. We can just promote him to defensive coordinator. I don't know, man.
I have never heard of assistant head coach of defense. What the fuck is a head coach of defense anyway? Like, forget assistant. What is head coach of defense? Like, I've never heard of that. Is that
I guess? Well, that makes me think that Robert Saleh is, instead of defensive coordinator, he's the head coach of the defense.
Right.
Which is kind of how they've been describing it externally, but like in terms of like how the 49ers are describing it.
Completely
but
separate.
the title for Saleh is defensive coordinator. So that could be.
Right. And everyone's been saying, for those of you who may not have picked up on what Matt was just suggesting there, everyone's been saying like Robert Saleh has full autonomy of that defense. So he's like almost like a head coach of a completely separate unit from what Kyle Shanahan is doing over there. Like Kyle's not going to be tinkering with that at all. So I guess that makes a lot of sense, or more sense, if you're looking at it from the title for Gus Bradley. Like him and Saleh are going to be working hand in hand. I like seeing that there. We all know how much we loved Ronald Blair. This is a guy that had a lot of injuries. We wanted the best for him during his tenure as a player for the 49ers, so it's cool to see him coming back here, special teams quality control. And then Chris Forrester. This is a guy that I've been saying is the most underrated position coach on the team. Now, they gave him the assistant head coach job. And what's interesting is when you watch Chris Forrester's pressers, he talked about how he was tied in with the run game last year. He was the offensive line / run game coach as well, like, or specialist or something. It was something to do with the run game, right? So now this is going to be overseeing a little bit more than just the run game, or a little bit more than just the offensive line. Maybe he's going to be a little bit more involved in the overall function of the offense. So I kind of like that for him. Again, this is like what Matt said, anyone can take an offensive line coach and make him a coordinator or make him something higher, right? And the Niners can't block it. So they had to kind of promote him if they wanted to keep him here. This tells me that they really, really like Chris Forrester. I thought that was a really good sign for him. The Clay Kubiak as the offensive coordinator, we kind of felt that was happening all along. The Mick Lombardi thing is what everyone is circling and questioning, like, how does that happen? What was wrong with Brian Griese? My opinion on that is this. Brian Griese's job was to prepare the quarterbacks behind the starter, right? Like, you get those guys ready to step in because we're not sure about the starters. He's been here since, was it Jimmy Garoppolo's last year? And he was dealing with Trey Lance and dealing with Brock Purdy in those respective years, right? And now it's like, all right, we know Brock Purdy's a guy. We don't really need you to bring up the next guy there. So we're gonna, if you want to go somewhere else and do something, or if you want to retire now, you can chill. But right now, we're just looking for backups. We just need guys as backups. We're not looking for the next potential starter anymore. So to me, this is a sign that Brock Purdy is really that guy. So that's what I take from there. I don't know much else about anyone else on this list. I don't know who Jacob Webster is. I don't know who Greg Scruggs is. Or Jake Lynch. I think he coached. Was it like Washington?
He's John Lynch's son. I know that.
Yeah, but he coached. He was on a college team.
He was
last year, but I don't know much about it, so I won't pretend to. So we'll see what happens.
We got some super chats here. Oh, always hit the wrong one. All right. Gray Fox 198, $20. Thank you very much, Gray Fox. Says, sick hat, Matt. That Salute to Service collection is my favorite. I have everything except that hat. Fellas, do you know when Saleh will have a press conference until minicamp or training camp? That's a good question. I guess they didn't do it when they announced his hire, so I don't know. Would it have to wait until then?
Probably post draft if they use their first pick on a defensive player. He'll do the draft post breakdown that they typically do after like day 1, day 2, or whatever they do in the draft.
Good point. And then Sean, Mike, I'll put you in the big screen for this one. Mike, that is why I think, $10 from Sean. Thank you very much, Sean. That is why I think Kyle is losing power. Didn't go to the combine, not involved with draft or personnel. All these assistants getting big titles. Front office mad at contracts, selling 10%.
I try to play a different sound for multiple super chats. So I don't think that it's about losing power. I think it's about letting go, right? I think we all agree that Kyle Shanahan is best suited to run the offense and put together a coaching staff, right? I don't want Kyle Shanahan involved in more than what he has to be involved in. I think we were all a little bit disappointed with the offense this year, and a large part of that is because he was worried about the defense, right? And go back 2 seasons, right? 2 seasons ago, it was Wilkes, and it was like Kyle involved with the defense and offense. This year, it was defense and special teams, right? I kind of like the relinquishing of power. You're not taking anything away from Kyle. This is him saying, I got a guy at the defensive position that I trust. I got a guy at the special teams coordinator position that I trust. I don't have to be as hands-on. I'm not going to chalk this up as a loss of power. I'm going to talk about this as a transfer of power, as a transfer of responsibilities. I don't think that there's a single reason why anyone should doubt what Kyle Shanahan has going on. I don't think that the team is upset with Kyle Shanahan at all. I think they actually are saying, we have been doing you a disservice, so let us step up so you can go ahead and get back to what makes you great. And I think that this is all going to bode well for the 49ers. He finishes that super chat with saying, all these assistants getting big titles, front office, mad at contracts, selling 10%. I don't know if we talked about that on this show yet or not, but they were saying that Jed York is potentially looking to sell 10% of the 49ers team, $900 million, because apparently they have been valued at $9 billion as a franchise. What are your guys' takes on that? I know a lot of people are talking about, it's going to have salary cap implications and all that, and it doesn't at all. So I wanted to know what you got. Well, at least to me, it doesn't. I still haven't seen anywhere, and I had a little back and forth with David Lombardi on Twitter. I don't see how this affects the salary cap at all. So what are your guys' thoughts on that 10% of a potential sell? No one's done it yet. They haven't bought anything yet, but apparently it's available if someone has $900 million just laying around.
I have no idea how that impacts. I mean, maybe bonuses? That's the only thing I could think of, because you need to have the cash on hand, right? Maybe he's trying to infuse the ownership group with more money, more hard cash. I really don't know.
I can't believe nobody has thought of this in terms of generating cash revenue or why they would do this. First of all, Grant Cohn retweeted out his thing from last year that said management was mad at Kyle and John. So people are taking that and running with it, of course. But there's a simple explanation as to why he's trying to sell a minority stake in the team. And that is obviously to liquefy some cash. Because I don't know if you guys remember this, Al Guido came out and talked about the $200 million renovation that they're doing to Levi's Stadium, including new video boards, including more fan experiences. They're hosting the Super Bowl. They're hosting World Cup games in 2026. The stadium is now about 11 years old. There are new technologies that have come out. That's $200. You can't just wish that into existence. So it's less about paying bonuses and contracts and whatever else, as opposed to going to the stadium where they're essentially paying the entire year's player salary cap into putting renovations into Levi's Stadium in the span of, 5-6 months, whatever they're doing. You need to generate that cash flow. I'm sure that they've already fronted for the construction costs, but they want to make it up on the back end. So what you do is you sell a minority stake in the team. Then later on down the line, if Jed York decides that, or they raise more money or whatever else, he can always buy out the minority owner if they want to divest. It happens all the time.
Matt,
it's not a big deal.
You are the fucking man. That's exactly what it is. We heard Al Guido talking about how
I can't believe nobody
Levi's
said it.
Stadium, Right. That's what I'm saying. Like you're the man. He said if you drive past Levi Stadium right now, all the video boards are gone. There's not a single
Yep.
one up there. We are going to have the most video square footage of any team in the entire NFL when this season starts, and that's because the Super Bowl is coming back. This is all about this season and the Super Bowl. They need cash in the bank, not what we can pay, but showing guys what we can actually do right now. That's exactly what this is all about, Matt.
And it's not even
Good
video,
job, man.
just video boards too. They're like installing high speed Wi-Fi throughout the stadium. They're putting in like 1,300 internet access points. It's going to be like complimentary to like people who have the tickets and stuff like that. They're expanding luxury spaces. Yeah, exactly.
Boxes. Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. You know, there's going to be upkeep and maintenance that they have to do. And just think about new food experiences, you know, having to Q&A, those type of things, because let's face it, the food at Levi Stadium is a little bit, you know, run of the mill. And if you're going to host a Super Bowl and you're going to host something as global and diverse as the World Cup, you better have a diverse, you know, bunch of food. And that's going to take a lot of R&D to get that stuff right. So.
All right, fellas, I got to hop off, but Matt and Mike are going to wrap the show up. I'm not sure if you guys have one more topic, but I appreciate y'all. I will see you guys very soon. Make sure you hit like and subscribe.
Oh, you're muted, Mike.
Zach, thanks so much, man, for rocking with us. I really appreciate it. And we'll be back soon with Zach also. Matt, there was another super chat that we skipped from Sean. It has a fruit emoji in it, and I had the sound waiting for it. So when we pop that up here.
Let's go back.
Let's see.
There's the $20.
Right. It's a $2, $11.33. It should be in the star.
Is this one right here?
There it is. Yep. Glad Deebo is in shape, the shape of a pear. Sean, man, thanks for keeping us on our toes, bro. I appreciate it. Listen, man, a lot of people are concerned with what's going to happen with Deebo Samuel. Matt, can I just ask you straight up?
Sure.
Give me a percentage. Deebo Samuel returns to the 49ers. What's your percentage?
0.
Oh shit.
0. They're looking to trade him. If they don't get what they want, he'll be a post-June 1st cut.
Are they looking to trade him, or is he looking for a trade? There's a difference.
They've given him permission
They've
given him permission to look for a trade partner, which is them basically saying like, yeah, get us what you can. Okay. They don't want him. He's not producing. What he's not, like, they went through all that offseason to get him his contract. Okay, cool. All is forgiven. Come on back. And then the minute he has a season where he cries about getting the ball, no Brandon Ayuk, you're the man, dude. Like, you're the man. You be the man that you $20 million a year. Oh, get me the ball. First game in, drops a touchdown pass. Like, he knows, man. He knows.
Okay.
Without the gimmicks, he's just a mediocre wide receiver.
Wow. I'm not going to argue against it at all. I just wanted to know what your thoughts were on it. But, you know, listen, man, Sean, you know, it's been fun. It's been a fun run with Deebo. He's given us some flash. And by the way, whether he's with the 49ers or another team, he's going to have some flashy plays next season, right? He's going to get 5 to 10 flashy plays, and people are going to be like, oh, see, we never should have got rid of Deebo Samuel and all that. But we have to look at the greater, the bigger picture here. We need consistency at the wide receiver position, right? When he lines up in the backfield, he's getting the ball 90% of the time. Kyle does not like being that transparent with his play call and design. So this could be a step in the right direction and taking that crutch away from Kyle Shanahan. You know, I don't think it's a coincidence at all that Kyle is taking over the offense and letting go of special teams and defensive worries, focusing solely on the offense, and now being willing to let go of the player that we thought was his crutch. So I think Kyle's ready to get in his bag. This tells me that Kyle's hyper-focused and ready to lock in. So I like it.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm tired of talking about Deebo. Can we get him out of here already?
Yeah, let's go.
That's just what I want.
Let's keep it moving. Let's absolutely keep it moving. I don't know if you guys have this as a topic to discuss, but the Niners signed Ben Barch. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. He filled in my opinion, admirably for Aaron Banks when he went
Yeah.
down for those couple of games. What are your thoughts on that? Does this tell you that the Niners don't need to look for a left guard if they let Aaron Banks go, or do you think that we are still in the market for one, but he is the worst case scenario?
Yeah, I think that's more it. It's another bargain basement signing, and that's no disrespect to Ben Barch, who did play well, but it's limited sample size, and you don't want to hedge your bets in essentially what looks like an all-in Super Bowl year to, a guy that you signed for very cheap who ended up being injured. So I think that there are moves to be made in other places, whether that be through the draft, whether that be free agency. But the 49ers clearly need to address the interior of the line other than Dominic Pooney. So center and left guard are going to be on the table. Doesn't hurt to have depth because as this last season showed, not having depth essentially came back and bit the 49ers at the end. So I think it's a good signing. Bring him back. Not bad.
Yeah, I like the signing, and he's not a terrible worst case scenario. This is a kid that came from playing tight end in college, went to playing tackle, moved to guard in the NFL. His athleticism is there to get to the second level, and he's a guy who keeps his head on a swivel. If you go back and you watch some of the games, even when he engaged with his blocking assignment, once he realized he had that guy locked, he's immediately holding his guy and not holding illegally, but he's got his guy locked in, and he's looking around to see if the tackle needed help or anything like that. This is a guy that the Niners are going to find some value in and hope that they can continue to groom and coach him up. So I like this. You get him in another year with Chris Forrester, the assistant now head coach and offensive line coach, and nothing but good things can happen from it when his number ends up getting called. So this is a win-win for the 49ers, guys.
Absolutely, yeah. It's just going to be interesting, It's combine week. I think we're going to learn a lot this week about who wants to go where. There's going to be a lot of rumors and innuendo. And I know, I think it was Sean earlier was saying that, Kyle's losing power because he's not going to the combine. Kyle hasn't gone to the combine for a couple of years now.
Right.
So I don't know that has anything to do with it. And at the end of the day, if he's not going to the combine, then I guess he's probably not necessarily making all the picks either. And we need to acknowledge that John Lynch actually does play a front office role for this team because John Lynch does go to the combine every year. So
the best drafts have been when Kyle has not been involved. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry.
Yeah.
Like that's sincerely the way I feel. The first draft, throw it away. You know what I'm saying? Yep. Like it was just not that good. The second draft, third draft, but the further you get away from the beginning of it all, the less that Kyle was involved, the better the drafts got. And not for nothing, I love it. I love it. Don't micromanage these guys out there. There was also a post by Tim Kawakami. I don't know if we have the graphic here, but he was talking about the Niners and potentially it was a two-part thing. One was talking about the negotiations for Brock Purdy. The other one was the Niners looking to trade for a high-end defensive lineman, maybe even an edge guy. Matt, what were your thoughts on this? Because this is going to be very, very important. We're talking about the draft, and while you weren't here, Zach and I were talking about potential targets for the 49ers in the draft, and every time we started talking about it, we kept saying, well, it's going to depend on what happens in free agency. The truth of the matter is the Niners, if they're going to trade for anybody high-end, they should do it prior to the draft so that way they can use whatever leverage we have. It should be including pick 11. It should be including these first couple of rounds, these first 2 or 3 rounds of worth of draft picks in this season. So what are your thoughts on this? Do you think that the Niners could be doing something like this to get someone else opposite of Nick Bosa or maybe someone even on the inside because he says defensive line?
Yeah, I mean, it's very well possible that they are looking to make a big move. They would have to, I mean, again, to get somebody like a Max Crosby or a Myles Garrett, you're going to have to give up a lot. I think that they're trying to, I think their target would be Max Crosby more than Myles Garrett. I think Myles Garrett would cost a little too much. I think they're counting on the Raiders doing what the Raiders do, which is making mistakes and moving off of guys and, you know, doing dumb stuff. So that would be what I suspect, but who knows? Again, we're entering the most, I mean, it's like down here in San Diego, every May, every June, the sky is gray, the fog rolls in. It's smoke season. Everything's a smoke screen. Be careful. Take everything with a grain of salt. You know, people will tell you absolutely that, you know, somebody like a Shedeur Sanders is going number 1. And then the next week it'll be like, he's a fringe second round guy. You know what I mean? And it's all to just try to put forth a little bit of leverage, a little bit of juice out there to try to manipulate where players are going to go. Maybe a team, you know, for as dramatic as it is, right? There's a scene in the movie Draft Day where, you know, Kevin Costner's character basically calls a brand new GM and is like, hey, man, you don't want to look like an idiot out there picking some stupid guy. You didn't know what everybody else seemed to know about the guy, right? This guy's falling for a reason. Like, you don't want to look dumb, or you can just trade me your pick. I'll give you other picks. You can recollect yourself and come back, and then you come out looking really good. And obviously that's an exaggeration of stuff that happens, but like, I mean, these guys all talk, right? You don't think that John Lynch is talking to some of his old friends, like about, oh, what do you think about this guy? What do you think about this guy? Like, what do you guys, whatever. And, oh, I don't know about this guy. I don't know about that guy. And there's no influence whatsoever. I mean, the entire process is influence peddling. It is as much about trying to manipulate the situation as it is about the players trying to manipulate the situation by refusing to run at the combine, refusing to throw at the combine, only going to your pro day. It's all everybody manipulating everybody to try to get as much out of it as you can. And that just makes sense. So you got to take everything you hear with a grain of salt, and you got to really be careful about buying into too much of it at this point.
You mentioned Shedeur Sanders. I got a question for you.
He sucks.
Cool. I'm with that.
I thought that was the question. Sorry.
No. If you're a team in the top, let's say top 10, and you're deciding between Sam Darnold and Sanders, which guy are you going for, and why?
I'm going to go with Sam Darnold, mainly because he has NFL experience already. And the fact of the matter is that Sam Darnold has done everything that's been asked of him with class and grace. And if you go through Shedeur Sanders' timeline, he seems entitled. I know he's entitled. He will talk shit to players and then say absolutely nothing when they lose. He's a product of nepotism, sadly. And I'm not exactly convinced that the physical talent is on Shedeur Sanders' side either. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it's not just necessarily a Shedeur Sanders thing, but this, I will say this about anybody. If you've seen a guy play in the NFL and he has a certain level of success, you know he can be successful in the NFL because he's done it. Every single college person is a toss-up. You don't know. You might have like an inference if you can, but you don't know for sure. Right, Jamarcus Russell was drafted number 1 overall. I would take any established NFL player with some modicum of success over a college player because you just don't know.
Well,
there's been guys. Oh, he's a. I mean, look at you know, the Ryan Leaf Peyton Manning draft. You know, oh, it's so close. It's so close. And was it close at all? No, it wasn't. The 49ers are going to now have to live down probably the biggest first round draft bust in NFL history in Trey Lance. Mm-hmm. Trey Lance played like 4 games, like actually in 4 NFL games, and he's out. He's going to be out of the league. I don't know that there's going to be a ton of people to give him a shot. You have Jamarcus Russell, of course. You have people like Kajana Carter from Penn State who went to the Cincinnati Bengals, just didn't live up to the hype, right? Cedric Benson, who never really lived up to the hype. You have all of these players that are can't miss prospect. Kyle Pitts in Atlanta, can't miss tight end prospect. He's good, but I wouldn't say that he's like the best thing ever. You know what I mean? There was that one There was that one asshole out of Miami that was supposed to be like the greatest tight end since sliced bread. It was like late 90s, early 2000s. I can't remember his name, but didn't make it. So there's always those guys. So if you can tell me that a guy is already in the league, he's already had some level of success, I will be more willing to hedge my bet on that guy than I will on somebody brand new, especially at the quarterback position. It wasn't Fasano. It was, dude, I feel like it was a blonde-haired guy. He says Fasano. It was a blonde-haired guy that was like a total prick. No, it wasn't Kellen Winslow. But that's another. Kellen Winslow Jr. is another example of that. It was a white guy.
I'm glad that you took it off of Shador and you went to any proven NFL guy versus any prospect.
It could be Cam Ward. It could be Jackson Dart. It could be whoever these guys are.
Okay. So you would take Darnold over any of those guys because Darnold's proven in the NFL?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That I can absolutely respect. I like that. Okay.
I found it. Jeremy Shockey.
Ooh.
Yeah. Completely.
You didn't like Shockey as a tight end?
In the NFL? No. And he was a prick, too.
Oh, no. He was an asshole for sure. He was a dick for sure.
Yeah.
Sure. All right, cool. All right, I won't listen, man. Here's what I was telling Matt, Zach, before you joined, Matt, was that at least 2 quarterbacks are going to go before the Niners pick, which guarantees 100%. Like one of these elite players are going to fall to us at 11. We are going to get a top
exactly.
10.
And I've said that before too. Anybody that drafts these quarterbacks, and I'm particularly down on this quarterback class. I don't think there's a franchise guy amongst them. I think Cam Ward's the best of the bunch, and I think that he's like tops out as occasional Pro Bowl alternate. I just don't think they're very good. I don't think they have the tools. I mean, Cam Ward's like a 5th-year senior. He's like 24 years old. So
the Niners like old rookies, though. I mean, we saw the one draft where not last year, but the year before that, everybody was a 4+ year senior that the Niners drafted that year. You know what I'm saying?
Everybody's saying Shockey was good. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm off. Maybe I was putting Shockey's attitude with Kellen Winslow's play.
I think Shockey was better than what you gave him credit for.
Probably,
but I mean, was he? Now I will say
was
this,
he like
Shockey,
was he like the end all be all of he's
no?
change the league.
I think what people are remembering or forgetting, however you choose to look at it, Shockey had a good 2-year stretch. He didn't have a great career. He had a good 2 or 3 year stretch, and that was it for Shockey.
Right? I just remember him being disappointing.
No. Jeremy Shockey, he had a season where he was the best tight end in the league. He had one season like that, and then he had another season when he was a top 3 tight end in the NFL.
I don't think so. Never. He was never the best tight end in the NFL. Not when you had 100%. That's true. Yes, it is, man. You had Tony Gonzalez and Antonio Gates. Careers overlap. Jeremy Shockey never hit 1,000 yards receiving.
All right, no
never,
way.
Never, ever did he hit 1,000 yards receiving. Never.
Jeremy
I'm looking at it right now.
Oh, shit. Oh, it wasn't even close. His highest was 894.
Yep. He was never the best tight end in the NFL. But coming out of college, everybody said that he was going to be the next Tony Gonzalez or whoever else.
He never played a full season in the NFL. He never had 1,000 yards. Never had double-digit touchdowns.
Nope.
Okay. All right.
What is the chat? What chat? What are you talking about, man? I'm just pat myself on the back again because
I like it, man. He never even had 100-yard reception. He never had 70 receptions. Oh no, I'm lying. His rookie season, he had 74 receptions. That was his high. And he only had 2 touchdowns that season. So, all right, maybe he was a little overrated. I remember Jeremy Shockey being very clutch, but I'm thinking of Jeremy Shockey when he was with New Orleans. You're probably remembering him when he was with the Giants.
Yeah.
They're all the same. They're interchangeable. All those seasons are very, very interchangeable.
Yeah, I mean,
in fact,
listen, I'm using examples of all these players who were supposed to be good that weren't good. I mean, listen, even Odell Beckham Jr. is one of those players that, again, due to injury, but at the end of the day, it's like he fell off a cliff, right?
I think that when history steps back and looks at OBJ, he's going to be the most overrated wide receiver in NFL history. I will say that. I know that sounds crazy to say right now.
Hey, brother, that's Deebo Samuel. Hate to tell you.
Nah, I don't think Deebo was ever.
I know
heralded.
Deebo never got quite that shine. He wasn't like on the cover of Madden with that one catch that he made. Like,
yeah. I think Odell Beckham Jr. was looked at as like this end all be all of a wide receiver, but the truth of the matter is, like, I just, you know what? I mean, he had 1,300 yards, 1,400 yards, 1,300 yards, then 300, and then 1,000,
like
1,000, and never bounced back again. Yeah. So
I will say this though, it's the attitude.
He hit the ground running. His first 3 seasons, he looked like he was going to be the guy, and then he was just a guy after that every season after. So
it's
3
the
years in
for me.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing with Shedeur Sanders, like the showing off of the watch before the game and shit. Like, it's like, dude, come on, man. Like,
okay. All right.
You know, because it's the same people that are defending him that would shit on Baker Mayfield for planting the flag against Ohio State. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the same people that'll speak out of both sides of their mouth and be cool with one guy and not be cool with another guy. I don't think that you should just be like, it's a competition, and within the confines of the competition, that's cool. But to show off a watch that you got from your dad, like,
well, showing off a watch before a game versus planting a flag at the end of a game, like we came out and conquered. I'm planting that flag. Like, I respect that. I like that. After we beat your ass, now you got to deal with it. I respect that way more than something pregame.
Listen, how much of an issue? I think players got suspended when Michigan planted the flag in Ohio State this year when they beat them.
No, So because
Shedeur out there going like, look at my fucking watch. Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It's a double standard, you know,
for sure, absolutely.
So
100%, yeah.
All right, man. I mean, listen, it's somebody's going to fall to the 49ers. That's really good, and it's going to be because Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders are probably going to go top 10, both of them.
What do you think about the cornerback from Michigan? Because
I love Will Johnson. Oh, he's good. He's good.
I want him here. People are saying, "Oh, he's always injured. He's always injured." That guy is feisty. He's tough. I like him.
Yeah,
man. I like him, and he does have an injury history. But I also have this thing with falling for guys with an injury history. I told you that my favorite tight end was Arayo. Like, it's just I can't help it, man. I see what I see. I like the route running tight end. So I see the potential. Maybe I shouldn't look at it that way. And a lot of the times, I'm not going to lie to you, man. People are correct. When you see an injury-ridden guy in college, it usually comes to the NFL.
I would question injury-ridden. He played 14 games as a freshman, 12 as a sophomore this last season. And by the way, he won. I think he won one of the. I don't know if it was like Big Ten or he was like a first pro All-American or something like that. But he was like really good in the national championship year. But he's 6'2", he's 200 pounds, very physical. He's like I would say a slightly more athletic Richard Sherman, the college version. I'm not comparing to what Richard Sherman became, but that style of corner, good in man, good in zone. Yeah. I'm really hoping that, I mean, it's two things, right? Will Johnson would be fine. I wouldn't be mad, but I hope Armand Membau's arms are 34 inches so he can play tackle. We could get him at 11. I really like him. And then Mason Graham, I hope that he has a soft, shitty body at the combine, and that turns people off because he looks like a character out of, Eastbound and Down rather than, a studly player. But, dude, Mason Graham is a disruptor. That dude's really
a monster.
Good.
He's a monster in the line. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it, man. So.
Cool.
All right, man.
I'm going to get going soon. Yeah, we gotta get out of here. I got to walk these dogs. So, Mike, thanks for holding it down with Zach before I got here. And I'm sure Zach's thankful that we held it down out there. Let the people know where they can find you, my good man.
Yeah, guys, man, listen, I really appreciate you all rocking with us tonight. The chat was a little low-key tonight. I'm going to need some more juice from you guys going forward, but I do appreciate every single one of you guys that made an appearance tonight, typed in the chat, super chats and all that good stuff, man. Make sure you guys are following on Nothing But Niners. That is the Instagram, that is the Twitch, that is the YouTube page, and then the Patreon is patreon.com/NB9 NB Niners on Patreon. So please, guys, make sure you get over there. I know some people were asking, why didn't you call it Nothing But Niners on Patreon? And we just wanted to be shorter. I want it to be easier for you guys to find us. I'm all about nicknames, you know. If you could type in Mike 49ers, you would know it was me. I don't want you guys to have to type in Mike Andrews 83 like what my X handle is. So I want to make it easier for you guys. All right. NB9 ERS is where we are on Patreon. Yeah.
Quick thing right before we go, because this just came up and I thought it was pretty timely. Ooh, brother. Elijah Arroyo's talking about injury history.
That's my guy. No, that's what I was talking. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, I mean,
he now.
Another
I will say this,
out of Senior Bowl.
Yeah, Gio, I will say this: he's the best route running tight end in this draft, and it's not even close. Like he runs routes so well that there may be a team that takes him and tries to move him to wide receiver. He's that good at route running. The issue with him is just availability. This guy has been just slammed with injuries, you know, and so we'll see what happens. Not able to participate in the combine because of these injuries after participating in the Senior Bowl. He went out to the Senior Bowl. He had a phenomenal day one and then just went home, and now he can't participate in the combine. It's not a good look. He may fall out of the first, second, maybe even third round because of that. So
to the 49ers' benefit, maybe?
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping.
We'll see.
I'll be honest with you.
See.
It's exactly what I'm hoping. So
yeah,
we'll see.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. For Mike, for Zach, for myself, we love having you here. It makes it all worth it. A little bit of slow time in the offseason, but with Combine Week, we're going to get into it. New league year coming up soon, shortly after that, tampering period, all that good stuff. So keep it locked in here for more content. Again, we couldn't do this without you. Thank you, as always, for joining us. And until next time, go Niners.